Hello there, everyone. Today, after receiving multiple requests, I am going to be sharing my thoughts on Turquoise Hill resources. Now, before we get into the specific, just a quick reminder on my thoughts on copper, long-term bull, but near-term questions. I'll link my video on copper in the description of this one. So what is Turquoise Hill? Well, Turquoise Hill is a 4.3 billion US dollar single asset development play, mainly copper, but there is a gold element as well. So what is this asset? Well, this asset's Oyu Tolgoi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Basically, it's a copper porphyry um, that has multiple deposits across a few kilometers. So it is a world-class asset, one of the best in in the world. It's located in Mongolia, and it's currently ramping up with a 3 to 5, probably 5 year till it gets fully ramped up. And they are fully financed for this ramp up. They have the debt in place. They have drawn on some. They can draw on more. So they have the money, and they also currently also have cash flow. Okay, so on the subject of valuation, they are a development stage company right now. They're ramping up, which means they are loaded with debt, which means that this is the most fragile stage of their life. Now, while they do have likely more financing than they'll need, the debt that accompanies that um, makes their share price much more volatile than, let's say, some other low debt multi-asset company. Now, the other thing is to try and figure out what this project might be worth or what this company might be trading at. You just have to look at or think about when is it going to achieve its fair value. Because if you look at now, it doesn't look like a cheap company. But if you look, if you have a 5 year time horizon, you look, okay, well, where might this company be trading in 5 years? Well, you get a completely different story because this is all ramped up. You might get a significantly different price of copper. So in order to determine when you want to own this thing for, what's your target, why you're buying it, you need to decide on when you hope to achieve the full value. On the subject of when the full value gets achieved, this company will be, once they've completely ramped up, a lower cost, big, more than £1 billion per year producer of copper. So when it gets fully ramped up, if the copper price is high, this thing could be very, very special. Now, like I said, that 5 year time horizon, it'll take 5 years from now for the project to be fully ramped up and at full capacity. Now, a lot can happen in 5 years. Um, the price of copper going down significantly, the price of copper going up significantly, new projects being planned and proposed. There's tons and tons of things that could happen between now and 5 years from now. In fact, things will happen between now and 5 years from now. Now, while once ramped up, their cash costs will be near 50 cents or something, cash costs, not all in. And now, today, they're below the cash costs again are below $2. They don't seem to want to put their all-in sustaining costs either in technical report or in their information, so I was unable to find them, but cash costs, you tack on a bit for other things. So they are not in immediate danger of being at a loss from their current productions. But again, I don't think you're necessarily buying this thing for its current production. So what are some risks associated with this company? Well, they do have their financing. I believe they should be able to fully construct their mine and and ramp up and all that. However, I don't know then what price of copper they needed to pay off the financing. So if the price, because of some event or something, were to be lower than they expected at the time, at the stretch where they were paying back their debt, that could cause some concern for some people. Again, that's in the future, and I don't think that will happen that way. Um, so that's one risk. Another risk is geopolitical. Now, the Mongolian government owns 20% of the Oyu Tolgoi project, so that theoretically could mitigate some risk there. Again, Mongolia is peaceful democracy. It's not, it's very different from certain other nations, which I won't get into for other reasons. Um, and the last risk, or the big risk, I suppose, is the copper price. Because, I'm going to say this again because it's very important, because this company is in the development stage, it will be very volatile based on the copper price. Just look at past examples for that. I think I'll get into one later, one example of how this works. And of course, again, on the subject of risk, you never know if something like this happens, which it did happen. So you never know if something like this happens again, whether it's innocent or manipulative or whatever on either side. You never know when some news is going to break like this and it's just going to be a headache. But this is not restricted to Turquoise Hill. This type of thing can happen anywhere. So, all the way back to valuation now. Well, they trade at a discount to their NAV, which is not uncommon, and but also if they were to achieve their NAV, then they could be 250% of present value. So I don't know, $5 approximately, almost. So that's possible. And they are again cheap relative to some other companies at the current stage of development. So relatively, they're relatively cheap. Now, will that matter if things go south or north? You never know. They could always be relatively cheap, or they could one day be relatively expensive. Or maybe one day the relative changes. There's a whole bunch of possibilities. But basically, uh, it does look like there is definite upside opportunity in both the near and longer term. And also, you can see in the future them having some significant free cash flow for many, many, many years because their deposit is massive, world class. So once they're fully ramped up and in production, they will stay that way and have massive cash flow, and they could use it as a dividend or grow the company, who knows? But once they get there, once we're in 5 years from now, it's completely different value proposition. Now, in other similar cases, looking back at history, you could see stocks just absolutely moonshot and absolutely crater when they're in a development phase and they have some good or bad news or downturn or upturn. You can look um, at tech in 2008, you can look at, and this is the recent example that I remember, look at First Quantum, look at the chart from 2015 to 2016 to 2017. You go from 1850 all the way down to like $3. This is Canadian that I'm talking the chart. 1850 to $3, and then all the way back up to $20 in like 3 years. And when there is leverage, when there a company's at a development phase, when the market turns, these things can just absolutely go far lower and far higher than you can think / imagine. And so that's just a word of warning. This is definitely a stock that if there is this type of movement with their world-class asset, if they tank on the scale of First Quantum in 2016, this is absolutely one to buy. But just warning, this is also something that because of billions of debt on their balance sheet, I would think might be more likely to tank if there was a downturn, a vicious downturn. So just something to keep in mind. So in conclusion, Turquoise Hill is a very interesting. I could see why people are asking me about it. Very interesting play. It is a highly levered name in every sense of the word. And if you are looking for upside copper producing stock, I can see definitely why you'd like a name like Turquoise Hill. If I were fully bullish on copper right now, it is a name that I would probably be buying. That being said, it has more downside risk than some of the other copper plays, in my view, just because it has so highly levered. Now, is some of that priced in because of the market turbulence that we saw? Probably. So again, that's why it is cheaper and that's why it could go down more, but could definitely go up. It could double and I could say it might still be cheap without copper moving much. So it is going to be probably very volatile one way or the other. But Oyu Tolgoi looks really good. And I've heard about it before even hearing about Turquoise Hill, which I heard about a while ago, only really looked into recently. But yeah, so that's my view on Turquoise Hill. I hope you enjoyed. So thanks for watching this video. I will continue to do thoughts on individual stocks. There's one more on my list. However, I want to slow down on this, maybe transition it a little bit into if you have a question, not about an individual stock, but if you want to hear my view on something going on in the market, I would much rather discuss something like that and make a video on that rather than individual stocks. I will continue the individual ones. Again, one more on the list, which will be done soon. But I also have some other things that I want to make videos on. So, yep, that's it for this quick little wrap up. To anyone who made it here, thanks. Good luck with your stocks and have a great day.